In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. We want to pick up with number 5, commandment number 5, specifically for the moment, since it's been so much with us and flooding us on all the medias and all that kind of stuff. The question of the war with Iran, and especially, unfortunately, we have seen this dust-up, whatever you want to call it, between the president and the Pope over this particular situation, fed shamelessly by the news media, not surprising. And it all could have been avoided had it been handled differently from the beginning. But it wasn't. So what are the 4 conditions? Anybody tell me the 4 conditions for, they call it the just war doctrine. It's really a teaching, because when you place it in the context of church, one gets the idea that it's a doctrine of the church. It's a teaching. It's a teaching. And teachings are subject to expression, debate, differences, etc. And they have been, especially, we have to understand that these deal with war. And this was developed, really, first of all, by St. Augustine. That's back over 1,600 years ago. Certainly the nature of war has changed. The nature of war has changed. And therefore, when you start talking about a teaching about war, if you still want to go back to catapults and bows and arrows and all of that sort of stuff, it makes absolutely no sense. So the teaching has to be modified and changed because the nature of the entity under discussion has radically changed. People back in the time of Augustine couldn't even imagine. It's beyond their comprehension, the things that go on today by modern, as we say, modern or contemporary warfare, in its power, its delivery ability, the very nature itself. The nature of the American Revolutionary War between England and the colonies. That particular war changed radically because the most powerful army in the world, most powerful navy in the world, was Great Britain. And they thought that they would march in line like they do with the Europeans and so on and so forth like this, and Gisco and the Americans, or the colonists, would come out in the same way. And of course they didn't. They had the home field advantage. They were fighting here. And there is a home field advantage in war because you know the byroads and highways and hiding places and crevices and terrain and temperature and all of the other things that may be foreign to you. So they perhaps fought the first kind of guerrilla warfare in that particular sense of the term. So these principles of just war, of a so-called just war, are changing. They have to. That's why, if you look at them, they are written in very, very, very broad language. Very broad language, as you're going to see. That's why the most important virtue for a leader, moral or military, political, economic, etc., the most important virtue is the first of the cardinal virtues, which is what? Why did I ask? A lawyer never asks a question he doesn't know the answer to. especially when there is no answer. What is the first of the virtues? Prudence, very good. Prudence. What is prudence? What's that? I can't hear you. Honesty, no. What do you want to command? What do you want to demand of a leader, especially in war? Don't say courage. Very good, please. So you want, well, what faculty must they exercise? Judgment. Good judgment. Think of a leader, especially in war. I hate to use this, but I am. Think of it as a guard in a basketball game. Okay? If you don't know basketball, think of something else. The lead guard, is the one who takes the ball and distributes it. He sets up the players. But he has to do it how? Spur of the moment. Why? Because the game is the spur of the moment. Think of the game not as a symphony. The game, a basketball, is jazz. Jazz, jazz, jazz. And a lot of it is improvisation. A lot of it's improvisation. And so you can't go and dribble the ball down the court, and you're the lead guard, and you say, oh, wait, could you stop here a moment? Now, could you get over there? And no, you stay in your position. You get over there. That's crazy. On its face, that's crazy. No, they're moving, changing, screening, in position, offense, defense, diving for balls, setting screens, all of that kind of stuff. And it's done like this. It's not a snapshot. It's a movie. And so therefore you have to have somebody who has that good judgment that if I have a mismatch, if I have a guy 7'5", and he's being somehow mismatched with a guard who's 6'5" or 6'4", I want to get it into him. I don't want to get it to somebody out there, but I got to have kind of panoramic vision. I got to be able to see. So essential is the virtue of prudence. You have to be able to make judgment, because you can sit down and spend months and months and months and so on and so forth planning the tactics and strategy of a war, and then what happens is the fog of war. It's the unexpected, the surprise, what you're not prepared for. In other words, it's something like life, but not often as deadly or as quick. Think of a day. You wake up in the morning and you have your calendar in front of you, or whatever you have, your appointment book or your date book or whatever you do. And go back at night and see how many things that you thought you were going to do, you didn't do, because something came in that you didn't expect. You got a telephone call, heaven forbid, you got in an accident. Somebody called you with a need that you had to respond to. You had to cancel an appointment, rearrange something. Life does not conform to your date book. This gives you a framework, which is very good, so that you don't have to invent the day, but you have it in front of you. But you also realize that we propose and God disposes. And there are many things that come up that we're just not ready. The same thing is true in war. In war, maybe there's a surprise attack. Maybe they've been keeping secret a weapon you're not aware of, and they introduce it on the field for the first time. What do? You got to scramble. You got to all of a sudden decide, do you retreat? Every retreat is not a defeat. You have strategic retreats, and you don't commit all your troops to one thing. You have to keep some in reserve, etc. All of those hundreds and more of factors come into play. In the fog of war, you have friendly fire, where you end up injuring or killing your own troops by accident, etc., but that's what it is. And So you need prudence. You need people who have good judgment, what to do and what not to do. Sometimes what not to do is far better. It is. What is the first rule in medicine? Do no harm. Notice, it didn't say heal the sick. Don't make things worse. Don't just run in there and make things worse. That's why a doctor does tests, tries to get information, etc. When you go to court, you have a case. What does a good judge often do, if it's a complex case especially? What is the first thing a judge does? He issues a temporary restraining order. A TRO. Why? Get all the facts. He's got to make a judgment, and you come in with this case, and you want an instant answer. Okay, you're guilty. Take him away. Want that? Of course not. Temporary restraining order says, let's everybody stay in place. In place as where your position is vis-a-vis the case. And let's look at this and analyze it and see what it's about so that we can plan a prudent course of action. In war, you have this strategy. You have your schedule, your plans. You come around this flank, that will attack from the rear, etc., and so on. And then things happen. That's where prudence comes in. What do you do? And for those of you that think it's bravery, you have to be very careful. Bravery or courage walks between two. See, all of these things are always between two vices, two extremes. Rashness, which is foolhardiness, and you rush in like Pickett's charge, and you get all kind of people killed. That isn't bravery. You're a disaster. You got your men slaughtered. Oh, but they died with their bayonets. Great, congratulations. Unbelievable. No. You avoid cowardice, whereby you're timid. You don't want to take a risk or a chance. You have to take some risk or chance, but you want it to be calculated prudently. Might it fail? Yes, but at least it had some thought that went into it. So when you talk about just war, these things are very open-ended. If you're looking for, this is what you do in this situation, it ain't here. It can't be here, because nobody can write every contingency that might happen. That's not possible. That's not possible. You cannot write every contingency that can come up in your day. Try it. You'd still be writing today. It's not possible. That's why you have to have prudence. You want to plan, but always in the back of that little mind of ours, I got to be ready for the unexpected, because it may happen, and I have to respond. And very often my response is, limit the damage. Stop where I am. What's the first rule when you get lost in the woods? Stop walking. Don't move. Why? Because if you have a plan and you have a trail and so on and so forth, they have a better chance of finding you than if you're roaming all over the place. They'll never find you. That's why pilots are required to file what? A flight plan. If they go off course, at least if you were going to Seattle, Washington, they're not looking for you down in Miami, Florida. They have a zone that they can cover. But if you're roaming all over the place and all this kind of stuff, sometimes you just have to stay in place so they can find you. You have a better chance of that than if you're roaming all over the place. Can't find you. Can't find you. panic is you want to try to find it and go look, and that's often that's often the last thing you want to do. You want to stay there and wait a reasonable amount of time if you can. And again, there are circumstances where you have to move. I get that. You got an animal or you have a pack of animals or whatever. That's something different. But normally, you don't want to act out of panic. You don't want to be pressed into something, because then you're rash and you're not being prudent. So let's look at these. We can begin with number 23. Well, we can look at 2307 for the sake of discussion. In your catechism, you should have your catechism, please. 2307. If you don't, well, I don't know what to tell you. 2307, please. Yeah, 2307. The big black bold print number that's in the margin. Is everyone there? Please? Okay. The fifth commandment forbids the intentional destruction of human life. Because of the evils and injustice that accompany all war, the Church insistently urges everyone to prayer and to action so that the divine goodness may free us from the ancient bondage of war. Pope Paul VI, Saint Pope Paul VI, wonderful Pope, greatly underappreciated and valued. His famous speech before the UN, I told you, the first Pope to visit the United States. War no more. Okay. Look at 2308. All citizens and all governments are obliged to work for the avoidance of war. Avoidance of war. Now, we have the primary responsibility of peace. War no more. Avoid war. And promote peace. You have two negatives and one positive. War no more, negative. Avoid, don't do it. Promote, positive, negative, negative. Okay? That's what you have. These, in Catholic moral theology and in moral philosophy, are called first principles. First principles are the fundamental foundation of what you're going to talk about and what you plan to discuss. That's going to define and guide the discussion. Okay? What are the defining principles of the American experience? And where is it contained? No? Where? The Declaration of Independence. And what does it say? No, we the people is the Constitution. Inalienable rights. What are they? What does it say? What does it say at the beginning of the Declaration of Independence? 250th anniversary, folks. What's that? We hold these truths. Notice, please, a very rare word. We hold these truths, not opinion, not the latest snapshot poll, not the latest Arbitron rating or Nielsen rating on television or radio or this or that. We hold these truths to what? Did you hear that? What is a self-evident truth? These are self-evident. Notice that. They are self-evident, which means it's not my truth or your truth. It's not this guy's truth or this lady's truth. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Self-evident to whom? To every human being. Everyone who is under the species of Homo sapien. We hold these truths to be self-evident. What is a self-evident truth? Yes, but okay, you're jumping. Well, yeah, you're jumping ahead. Okay, all men are created equal. Now, what are those self-evident truths? It's up there on the board. What is the self-evident truth that follows? It's on the board, folks. All men are created equal. Am I going blind here? All men are created equal. Endowed, what does that mean? What is it? Wait a minute. What does it mean, endowed? Mm-hmm. Born with. They are innate. They are innate. They're not an external accident. They're not something you acquire or give yourself. It's not something somebody gives you. See? This lady here came over on the boat. Yes, she did. See? She's Irish. And she came over as an indentured servant. Okay, her family sent her over here so that she could do all the work and get everything settled so they could come over and live off of her. Dump that bunch, huh? So there she is. She's an indentured. And after so many years, I, being the owner, say, you've done very well. You're free. Did I bestow that freedom on her? Did I make her free? Why? She was already free. She was created. I recognized it in a civil sense or in a custom sense. I did not give her freedom. Nobody gives you your freedom except. Yeah, see. All men are created equal. Well, none of us in here are sui generis, huh? None of us in here create ourselves, create our nature. We don't. We're all created. By whom? See, it requires some entity outside of the self. Endowed, infused with, innate, certain, but they're equal. Equal, huh? Are you kidding? I'm going to pick on you. Let's say this poor lady here, okay? She's now been set free from her indentured status. And she has a tremendous talent as a seamstress, a wonderful designer and maker of clothes, and so on. And this poor lady next to her, who thinks she is a designer of clothes, more like oyster sacks, okay, and clothes. I'm going to give you a good one later. Don't worry, and we'll dump on her in a minute. Now, where would you buy your dress or clothes to go to the ball? From the sack lady or from this lady? I'd do it from the designer. Even the sack lady would probably do that. Why? They're not equal in talent, not equal in ability. So there seems to be a lie. All are created equal. Some of you are stronger than others. This whole equality thing about men and women. Overall, men are stronger than women. Biologically, physiologically, and so on. Can you find a woman who can beat up a man? Yes. Some of you have tried. And your husbands have told me. But I'm not gonna out anybody. Don't worry. So you have that. But overall, biologically and physiologically, men. That's why you had that horrible film of the French. What a surprise! At the Olympics, who had that man fighting this woman. I don't know if you saw it. I saw it once, and I could not watch it again. Every time they even tried to bring it up, I turned it off. It was horrible. And this man punched this woman in the face. I don't know how many times. It was horrible. You'd got 5 to 10, if not the gas chamber on the street, for this kind of foolishness. Okay? That's absurd. Let's get the strongest women and so on and so forth and put them in an NFL uniform and put them out on the field and play the Seattle Seahawks. That's crazy. I one time asked Chris Everett. We had an event together. And I asked her, because this is when they were starting to have men play on the women's tour and women on the men's tour with Dr. Renee Richards, who didn't quite sure what he was or she was or he was or whatever, and so on and so forth like this. And she said to me, she said, you could take the 100th ranked college player in the United States and put him against the top-rated women's tennis player. And I doubt if she would win a game. Simply the power of the speed, the power of the ball, and all of this kind of stuff, and so on and so forth like this. It's not, see, and of course everybody gets all kind of, no, there's certain biologically givens. Who's better? That's not the question. See, we're so used to this. Who's right, who's wrong, who's in, who's out, who's better, who's worse. How about whatever happened to complementarity? Whatever happened that differences work together for the whole that makes it better? We've lost that because we're used to the battleground, not common ground. We're used to a hierarchy rather than a complementarity. Women give to men what two men cannot give to each other. A man gives to a woman what two women cannot give to each other on many levels. And that complementarity produces the nuptial relationship between husband and wife. And it's worked for millennia because women have gifts that men do not have or not sufficiently developed that women bring to it. Men have situations and gifts that they bring. It's a wonderful book that came out several decades ago by a Harvard philosopher, Carol Gilligan. It's a wonderful book, and I've used it a lot. It's called In a Different Voice. And she talked about the importance of recognizing differences as complementary, not as competitive. And with this, all of this equality stuff and all this, we've gone off the deep end. But that's what Jefferson wrote with the help of Ben Franklin, by the way. All men are created equal. Well, the question then from all of this you have to ask yourself is, what do you mean by that? How could he write that? And not only that, he doubles down on it and he says these truths are what? Wonderful word. What is the self-evident truth? What is the self-evident truth? Why is it undeniable? Why is it undeniable? Yes, it is. You're right. It's undeniable. But why? I can't see it. Why can't they? I'm asking you why. Can you see equality? Show it to me. Where so you can't see it. No. Why is it self-evident? On the basis of reason, folks. Leave God out of this. No. Leave God out of it. Leave God out of it. So it can't be God-given. We've already ruled him out. Sorry. So all of you people who run to God for everything, leave him alone now. What do you mean common sense? Well, wait, don't give up. Please, and sulk and pout and all that kind of stuff. My God. Huh? What do you mean it's obvious? No, you cannot see it. I cannot see equality between you and Marie. In fact, I look at you and what I see is inequality. No. You're taller. Yes or no? You're shorter. So you're not equal. You're not equal in height. So I see it. So don't tell me that innate is the height that you are. Your weight, your age, the complexion you have, etc. Not equal in that. What is the self-evident truth? On the basis of reason, what?
It's available to every human being.
Why?
Because that is...
Why is it a self-evident truth?
It's within you.
What is within me?
Would you not be able to...
All men are created equal. John is a Homo sapien. What can I say about John? No, don't fly over the key. I don't want God in here. All of y'all are so religious, it's annoying. What? What is that? Yeah, okay, yeah, we got that here. Oh, you said he's human. Why did you say he's human? So if I say John is a human, but he's not Homo sapien, why? Why can I not say Marie is a Homo sapien, but is not equal to Betty, who is a Homo sapien? Why can I not say that? John, why? No. If I say John is a Homo sapien, come on, folks, think. Mary is a Homo sapien. Therefore, they are not equal Homo sapiens. If I buy this, can I say this? No. Why? What am I doing?
You've disputed what you said about the first sentence.
Close, that's good, that's good. A self-evident truth is one that is not self-contradictory. It has to be evident to reason, otherwise you're contradicting yourself. If I say, she's a Homo sapien, the dress designer, and the lady next to her, the oyster bag lady next to her, is a Homo sapien, I say, they're not equal because she makes better dresses. Would that make any sense? She is a Homo sapien who makes dresses. She is a Homo sapien who makes dresses, but they're not equal. Would that be? Very good. I am not contradicting myself unless I say the predicate is not the dressmaking. If I say they're not equal as human beings with those innate qualities of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is the fallacy. That's the fallacy of slavery, of bondage. That is the great offense against humanity. Because what you're doing is you're saying that a black person, a brown person, take your pick in the rainbow, is a Homo sapien, but they're not equal to this rainbow person here who's a Homo sapien, but they're not equal in their humanity. Is that self-contradictory?
Yes.
Yes, it is. The brown person is a Homo sapien, the rainbow is a Homo sapien, but they're not equal in their humanity. Am I contradicting myself? Yes, I am. A self-evident truth is one that you hold. At the same time, you cannot hold the contrapositive. You cannot hold its opposite. If you understand what? What is all? Universal or particular? Universal. Very good. Men, what do you understand by that? It's universal. Why is it universal? That's right. It's referring to men and women. Okay, we can let aside our sensitivities and all this other kind of stuff. That's what it means. R means, therefore, here's the predicate. Created means what? Something that is created. Leave God alone. Brought forth. Brought forth. Not out of nothing. Only God brings forth things out of nothing. They're brought forth out of what? They're procreated out of what? A man and a woman, right? I mean, I realize you all are into the modern biology, but as far as I know, this still holds somewhat. It's a man and a woman who create this. And they are equal in what? What kind of rights? What is an inalienable right? You're born with it. What is an unalienable? See, there's a great debate in scholarly circles. Some people say inalienable and some say unalienable. And they've been back and forth as to whether Franklin and Jefferson used the same terms, because there's copies of the Declaration of Independence that differs on inalienable and unalienable. Inalienable means what? Somebody said it before. You what? You're born with it. Inalienable. Inalienable. What is unalienable? No, not what? It's not earned, and it doesn't come mainly from what? From the standpoint, It doesn't come from what? What was the purpose of the Declaration of Independence? And it's hotly debated today, especially since over the weekend Justice Thomas gave this talk in Texas. What is an unalienable right? No. Who cannot give you that right? Government, very good. Government. Start to read what people are saying today. And I'm not talking about running to the library and all this other kind. Listen what people are saying on your television, your politicians and all of this. There's this evening, there's some, let me be kind, some judge, retired, thank God, who's now spent the rest of his days on earth indicating that it is government that gives you your rights. Now, no, that's gaining. If you don't believe it, listen to your politicians on the left, because you can't say they're inalienable, not earned, given by God, because it brings in the God question. See, so all of you God people in here, watch yourself. No. It means they want to hold that the rights you have are bestowed on you by the government. By the government. Well, folks, if government can bestow them, government can do what? Take them away. Take them away. When they are bestowed on you by God, they are a constitutive, an essential, fixed, permanent part of your nature, which no one can take from you. I don't care if you live in the most dilapidated house in the worst part of town, and so on and so forth, and you got to hang your clothes on the old lines that we used to have, and so on and so forth. Your dignity and worth as a person is equal to the Pope, the King, the Prime Minister. I don't care who you name them. It doesn't matter. Because it's not about, all of that other stuff is exterior to your human nature. That's the sacredness of human life. This notion of life worthy of life. The fact that it's human life, it already is worthy of life. It's sacred. It's holy. Because the Creator made it how? How did the Creator make it? What's that? In what? What does the scripture say? All of a sudden, the God people have all gone away. My God. You wouldn't make it on Jimmy Swaggart. I can tell you that right now. My God, they'd throw you out. We're made in the image and likeness of God, for God's sake. Huh? Wait, well, don't keep it a secret. You didn't? I'm going to ask Sandy. Sandy said no, you didn't. No, Sandy said no. Sandy said you cheated hearing him, and now you're trying to. I don't want to cause a trouble, because Sandy, you will get a whipping. You will get a whipping. Trust me on that. I mean, that's going to be really, they're going to stop that on account of mercy. We'll be throwing things and everything out. There she goes. She's still going. All right. Go ahead. Keep going. Go ahead. Let's see. Just put my shroud out. You can make mine. You put it out there. Okay. So that's what you have. You see? These are inalienable rights, not given by government. They're something that are a constitutive part of your nature that makes you equal. Equally made in the image and likeness of God. There's no first class making, second class, third class, whatever. Bargain sale. And you also ought to be equal where? Equal where? The essence of liberty. Equal where? Come on, folks. You get the... Look, you might make terrible dresses. Okay? Exactly. The one who made the wonderful dresses, you know, well, my dress is better than hers.
She would give precedence to her customers.
No, she got it from the lady in the back, from Cindy, who was saying it 3 or 4 times. That's where she got it from. God. From the law. On the criminal court building in New Orleans, at least it wants to be up there. The equal administration of justice is the foundation of liberty. If you don't have equality before the law, you don't have justice, and you don't have a legitimate law. You come into court, you expect to be treated justly, fairly. If this person has their case adjudicated and your case is in the same area, same factors and so on and so forth like this, and you come in and you present your case and so on and so forth like this, and I happen to be next door neighbors of Cindy, and I want to do nothing to upset her, okay? And although, I'm sorry, you make wonderful dresses, I got to live next door to her. She wins. You good try. Good try. My daughter's getting married. We'll come and see you. Okay. So, but we would say, wait a minute. That's why there is a thing where judges are supposed to recuse themselves. Why? Because there's even the appearance of an unseemly impropriety or bias. It may not be so, but you don't want to give the appearance of that, because the more you do that, the more you undermine the justice system. And we've seen that in several years now, where the justice system is called into question. Is it being weaponized? Is it being used against opponents? We like Democrats, we like the conservatives, we like this and that, so on and so forth like that. That came out over the weekend, just before the weekend, that pro-life Catholic groups in the United States were targeted by the so-called Justice Department under the last administration. It was reported, nobody made anything of it, because we don't trust the media anymore, and for good reason. That the Justice Department had sent FBI agents into Catholic churches, especially those that held Latin Mass. Thank you. Those that held Latin Masses and those who had reported conservative clergy, and took down or recorded their sermons and their announcements, etc., in order to relieve them of their tax status. Because you remember Lois Lerner, I'd like to forget her, head of the IRS, and she had to resign. She was forced out of office because the evidence was mounting more and more that conservatives, Catholics, pro-life groups, evangelicals, etc., were being given special treatment. Also, the 504, 501c3 status as a tax exempt was being denied, whereas those in favored groups were just breezed right through, you see. And so people are very, very concerned about that. Judge shopping. Oh, I got a case, I'm a Republican. Well, I want to shop around and find a judge who's pro-Trump. I'm pro-Democrat. I find a judge that's pro-Democrat, and I go shop it in there. And that, I don't know what he's doing, but anyway, Chief Justice Roberts has written about that. What is called the inferior courts. The inferior courts are the district courts, the lower courts. They continue to do it. They continue to do it, but there's no repercussion. There's no contempt. There's no removal. There's no chastisement. There's none of these things. None of these things. And it undermines the confidence in the judicial system of law. And if you undermine law, you undermine liberty. That's why John Adams was one of the fiercest proponents and brilliant geniuses on the importance of law and the American experience, and that it be seen as just, administered as just, and that the consensus be that it is indeed justly done, fairly done. Because if not, you undermine the judicial system. And you see that in other countries where you have mock trials and all these kind of things going on. Nobody believes them. The people in Iran being killed with the so-called show trial. I mean, they're guilty going in and they're guilty and dead coming out. I mean, nobody pays attention to that in the sense of any kind of integrity. So you have these rights, inalienable rights. And life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Now you have to understand, these inalienable rights were taken from perhaps the most influential of philosophers, British philosophers, on the American experience, John Locke. His first and second, especially the second treatise on government. If you want to understand the American Constitution and the American political system, etc., you must understand John Locke. You must understand John Locke. And interestingly enough, in the second treatise on government by Locke, he lists life, liberty, hold on. How many people vote for pursuit of happiness? How many people vote that he said the pursuit of happiness? 1, 2, 3, 4. What did he write? Since the way I said it, those of you who are sitting on your hands, by the way I said it, you said, no, it ain't it. It's a trick question. Property. Now we get all, oh, God, a materialist, a commercialist, a consumerist. No, because Locke says, what is the most important piece of property you own? No, starts with an H. No, it's the most important piece of property you own. What's that? Close. You're getting close. Starts with an H. No. Leave health alone. The God people have become health freaks. What? No. No. No, we've already eliminated that. No. What part of your body? Part of your body is not human. Where is your humanity? Where is it? What part of you? I'm sorry, Betty. Where is it? No, not your heart. Oh, God, they're all saying Valentine's Day. It's over. No. Let's see, your hair. You're in trouble. What's that? You have taken over her place. It's your hand. Yeah. Oh, see? Why your hand?
Just jealous, please.
Why you? No. No. It's because of your hair. No. It's. Why? Nope. Not Sam, hand. Why? Why is it the most important? What's that? Wonderful. Very good. I tell you, you've fallen down to 3 now. Stick to dresses, okay? Because of work.
Those seamsters can do a lot of things with their hands.
Yes, they work.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, see? You should have got that. She's correcting you. She's jealous that she's not one of the 3. Oh, okay. She's envious. We're going to get you a better hand. Now, why hand? You do what? Work. And if you work, what happens? You have self-sufficiency. You have an independence, like liberty. And also, if you work and you are self-sufficient and you have the means, what then flows?
Taxes?
No? No. Are there a lot of unhappy people who work, who are self-sufficient, and so on and so forth? You have life. If you can work, earn a living, feed yourself, and so on and so forth, and all of that, and you have the liberty to do it, what do you have? You have life. Today, in the culture, we want to tell people it's not that. It's the government. And that's growing stronger and stronger, by the way. And you know what that does? It makes you dependent. It places you in bondage. Because it says, without this bureaucrat and the handout you're going to get, you're nothing. You're nothing. So don't fool with me. Because I have the power to either sign this form or not sign it. And what happens? You lose your dignity. You lose your dignity, your sense of self-worth. You become dependent. You become a cripple. And your image shrinks to practically nothing because you're always on the receiving end. You're always on the receiving end. You're never on the giving end. In other words, you're a leaner, you're not a lifter. And you are, dependency often breeds crippleness. paralysis, slavery. You want to be able to know that you can wake up in the morning and not become totally not crazy stuff, but that you have a job, you work, you have earned a paycheck. It used to be once upon a time, I don't know what it is now. Most important thing is when your father told you, go to work. Go work for this. No, I'm not giving it to you. You go, I don't care what you do. If you go sell bottles, we used to sell bottles, 2 cents a bottle and all that kind of stuff, tin cans and everything else like that. And you'd come home and you'd show the money you had. And when you got a little older and you got a job, so many people would frame their first check that they got. Why? It was a rite of passage. You had arrived. Do you realize what that is? To have earned that check? See, we've lost that today. The plastic money, people giving everybody, da-da-da-da-da, and all this kind of stuff. To come home and to value that. Man, that was life, man. That was life. And you got money, you use it. And then you learned how to use it. Oh, you're out of money? Well, you didn't save anything? Well, no, I'm not giving it to you. You'll have to wait till your next check. Now, maybe you learn to put, that's very important lessons. Very important lessons, you see. So Locke said, the most important thing you own is your hand. Cutting it right down to basics, your hand. See? And property was considered an inalienable right. What you owned, you worked for, fairly, justly secured, etc., was your own, and no one could take it away from you because it was yours. Could you sell yourself into slavery? Can you legitimately sell yourself into slavery? No, you cannot. It's against the law. Why? You cannot do that. You cannot go stand out there and say, I want to be a slave. Who will bid on me? That contract would never hold up. It's impossible. We have all kinds of laws against trafficking and slavery and all these kind of things. Why can't you? Why can't you sell your liberty?
Aren't you selling your liberty when you depend on the government to...
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So what?
That's not... Right.
So what? So what?
So it's self-evident that you can...
Yes, it is, isn't it? And so what? Well, so what? Oh, well, wait a minute.
Is it still life?
Well, wait a minute.
Depend on somebody?
Is it? Is it? Is it? Well, what do you think?
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, you don't think it is?
Somebody, I want,
Yeah, you want to.
I want to work and make money.
Yes, of course. And most human beings want to do that. There is something about that. And not sit there and wait for the postman to come with your check. We don't want that. See? And when you find people who do that, there's a certain sense of just aimlessness, of kind of inventing the day, or they get into all kind of other activities, etc. Their life is a mess. Why? Because it's contrary to what we are as human beings. We're made for work. We're made to produce, because we participate in the ongoing creation that God has entrusted to us. God was the first worker. God was the divine artist. I think. I mean, all this came about. And God's paintbrush was his mighty word. He spoke it. And the canvas was this creation. And we were the crown in it. You see? So, we can't sell ourselves because it is a right, life, liberty. Liberty is what kind of right? It's an inalienable right, which meant what? It's given to us. Nobody can take it away. And you cannot legitimately give it away, because who is the ultimate owner of inalienable rights? Who's the ultimate owner of inalienable rights? Okay. Come on, God people. God is the ultimate owner. It's been entrusted to you to do what? To use them properly. They're on loan. That's why we talk about stewardship. Therefore, I cannot take your life unjustly. I cannot take your liberty away and put you in bondage. I cannot take your property. It's called stealing or fraud or something like that. These are rights that you have. And the founders, you have to read the documents of the founders, read the letters of the correspondence back and forth between Adams and Madison, Thomas Paine, Jefferson, these people. It's amazing the level of discussion and debate that took place of such a high order. Whenever anybody talks about, do we want to have another constitutional convention? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Tell me where the Madisons, Jefferson, Paines, all of those people are. Okay, they ain't in Washington, D.C. Let me just say that, they ain't there. No, you can't give these things away, because ultimately you don't own them. Ultimately, they're entrusted to you. That's why at the end we're answerable for how we use them or abuse them. If you give me something and you say, I'm going to give you this, but I want you to use it properly, I have the use of it. I have that ownership in a conditional sense. Conditional sense. I'm going to end with this. But take the example of your child. You got a child, 16 years old, whatever. And they don't tell you, and they get in your automobile and they drive your car. They're going somewhere. You come home and your car's missing. And you go into a panic and you call the police. And you say your car's been stolen. About a half an hour later, the police call and say, we have the person who stole your car. Who is that? She says she's your daughter. Oh. You get on the phone. Louise? Yes, I was just going to the mall or whatever. I just took the car. I thought I'd be back. Parent, did you know that your daughter was taking your car? Obviously not. Can the child be charged with a crime? Yes. Unauthorized use of a vehicle. Is it a felony? No, it's a Class C misdemeanor. And they probably wouldn't even do it. But that's what you have. Even a family, I just can't take your stuff without your permission. I just can't come and do that. I don't have your permission. It's an unauthorized use. If I intend on keeping it and so on and so forth, it's stealing. It's stealing. It could be a felony, depending upon the amount and all this other sort of stuff. So the idea of property, why didn't Jefferson put property or Ben Franklin? Because they assumed or took it for granted, that a proper pursuit of happiness requires what? Property. Requires ownership. You have to have things that are your own, that you're secure in. You don't have to own your house, but you have to have some ownership of something. And capitalism is based upon an ownership society. You buy, you own, you take care of it, you don't, you trade. When you want to sell a car, what do they want to see?
Title.
You want to see your title. You get pulled over by the police. Where's your registration? Where's your ownership? Where's your insurance? Let me see your license. All legitimate questions. All legitimate questions. No, we value private property. We value private property. Final point. Can it be taken to the extreme? Yes, it can. Because what the pro-abortion people or pro-choice people have done is they have taken Locke at his maximum word. In what way?
Ownership of your body.
Very good. You have ownership of your body, and no one can tell you what to do with your body. It's my body. Don't tell me what to do with it, and so on. See? Government gives rights, these rights. With Locke, I own it. It's my property. And I do what I want with it. Except a funny little thing happened on the way to COVID, or the foreign virus. You were required to get a shot if you wanted to work. If not, you got fired. And many women said, I don't want the thing. Fine, you don't have to take it. But you ain't going to get a job. We're not going to hire you. Because government had mandated that. And you say, well, they had a choice. Please. There is such a choice that becomes a mandate, especially if you have children or you have bills that you have to pay, etc. Oh, fine, you don't get that shot. Don't worry about it. But by the way, you don't have a paycheck. Now what you going to do? Well, probably going to get a shot. All the people that were saying, my body, my right, I do what I want with it. Yeah, okay, go ahead. And this happened. This happened to many people. Believe me. So, again, with all of these things, we have to be careful with, but in the common denominator between I own it, the government owns it, is one thing. They all make no place for God. They all make no place for God. God's out of the picture with the government because the state becomes God. It's out of the picture with you because you are a law unto yourself. You do what you want with it, etc. It's only when it's connected to God, made in the image and likeness of God, that we see it as a gift of which we are stewards, of what we are stewards. And the sacredness and the dignity of human life is not dependent upon your bank book, the number of degrees you have, what your zip code is, or anything like that. It's that you're made in the image and likeness of God, and all are equal in the sight of God. All are loved by God in God's image. And that's the equality that is never anything but just and fair, because it applies to all human beings. Regardless of all the external things, it doesn't matter. The most abject, poor person, the loftiest person in the world, in the eyes of God, they are both his children and both loved. And without that, Dostoevsky, the great Russian writer of the 19th century, he said, without God, all things are permitted. Without God, all things are permitted. We act like barbarians. Because if you don't have God to answer to, and I'm just answering to myself, there's a lot of people I don't want to be answerable to. There's a lot of people probably don't want to be answerable to me. I don't blame them. And so on. But in God, justice and mercy, freedom and responsibility, they meet perfectly. As the Bible says, they kiss. That's what the psalmist says, they kiss. So, anyway, now, given that background, when we go to these elements of the just war theory, of the just war teaching, keep in mind how wide open they are, and I would like you to read them with a critical eye. And what I'd like to do next week is to have a point-by-point discussion. What I'd like you to do, please, is to watch the television, read the newspaper, etc., in light of these four principles, just four principles. Very easy, little one sentences almost. And come away with a judgment on your part. Is the war with Iran just or unjust according to these four principles? Four principles. Remembering that the first principle, see, what you have here is, these are the first principles. This is level one. But this is what we call, first principles are, these are the highest levels of abstraction. They formal. They formal. When a lady or a gentleman, let's take a gentleman, puts on formal wear, how do they dress? Tuxedo. And notice the tuxedo is there, it's called formal, because no matter what your shape and this and that, it's the tuxedo that's formal. A skinny person in a tuxedo is still dressed in, he's still dressed in what? A tuxedo. He's still formally dressed. If I take a heavyweight person and put them in the tuxedo, a different size. My Lord, did he die back there? You all right? Okay, I thought you lost a lung. My God. You have that. It's still. These are formal principles. War no more. Okay. Avoid war. See how formal they are. Because you can automatically think of all kinds of things to plug into those. You have level two. This is the more concrete or specifics related to circumstance. So you develop a set of principles or guidelines that fleshes this out. Fleshes this out. In other words, it puts a little more dressing on this. But they flow from this. They flow from this. And then you come to the third level, which is the level of most debate, most difference, etc., most contentious. It is the level of application. And that's where people of goodwill can disagree. They can have different approaches. They can all be seeking the same goal, but by different means. They can debate, conservative, liberal, progressive, traditionalist, what have you. And it's fine. That's good. The application causes debate, which is good, especially in a democracy. You want that. But the debate should always be in light of this, of the first two. Never personal attacks. Never calling people's character. You see where Sotomayor on the Supreme Court wrote an apology to Justice Kavanaugh. because she disagreed with something he said, and he said, we don't need to listen to him or something to that effect because his parents never had to work an hour, probably never had to do an hour's worth of labor. And even the libs said, whoa, wait a minute, wait, time out. That's too much. And so she publicly apologized to him and also had a written apology and so on. That's over. That's a personal attack. And it's a personal attack on her family, by the way, by his family, that she didn't know anything about. She didn't know about those people, and so on. That's the problem. See, when you lose sight of this, this disintegrates into personal attacks, smear, character assassination, and everything else. And that's why you got to keep bringing people back to this. Otherwise, this disintegrates fast. This then goes into camps, my side, your side, which then leads to violence and civil disorder and everything else. When you get off of the principles. See, people say, stay on the topic. I want to stay on the topic as long as you ground the topic in the principles. Because once you get off of that, then reason goes away and everything becomes personal attacks, smears that take place. So what I'd like to do is to keep those principles in mind, and I'd like you to make up your mind as to whether or not you think the war in Iran, according to the principle, according to what you have there, the teaching, the 4 elements there, yes or no, and why. And we'll have those who think it is and those who think it ain't, and we'll have them go and attack each other. No, we'll have them discuss at a tremendously high level. We'll think we're back in 1776 or 1789, okay? So we'll do that. We're going to end here. What I would ask you to do, if you would please, is in our closing prayer, if in the charity of your prayers, please, please, please remember that devilish, satanic, evil situation that took place in Shreveport, Louisiana. That man who killed 7 of his children, shot them, I believe, to death, something like that. 2 of them got away, and so on and so forth. And he himself was killed. They still don't know if he was killed by a police or was it a self-inflicted wound, and so on and so forth like this. It really is evil. It's evil. It's the absence of life. It's destruction of life. These children, one of them I think was 1 year old. 1 year old. I mean, anyway, pray for that community and for the people involved, all of them, every one of them, in some way or another. They'll stand before God, and in God, justice and mercy meet. That's all we can do. And pray for those repose of the souls of those children, because it's certainly safe to believe that they are flying with the angels, those children. Anyway, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Almighty and gracious God, we thank you for this time together, for all of your gifts, graces, and blessings as we continue through this Easter season with the crucified and risen Christ. Help us more and more each day to die to ourselves, so that we may truly live in you and for you, O crucified and risen Lord. We may be strengthened and guided by the sacred Holy Spirit.